Yeah, I'm watching Ben eat right here. It's amazing, spectacular. All right, let's get started. We have an action-packed day. We have an amazing panel that's going to talk about the Mega Agent Summit that we were all just at. It was really, really cool stuff. They're going to share some ahas. We'll go through some production numbers, what's coming up, and then we're going to do a fun exercise to get us all ready for the business planning clinic. Do you remember what day that is?
The day before my birthday.
Yeah, the day before Tiffany's birthday, the 27th. And I'm glad everybody knew it because I did. So we can't do great things without great partners. Wendy?
Yep.
Come on up.
Okay.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
No,
I'm fine.
Oh, you got to speak to the Zoom world.
Okay.
Yeah, that are on there.
I'm a mom. I have the voice. Good morning, everybody. I am Wendy with Home Pro. We're one of your partnered vendors for home inspections. Thank you for having me, and please grab a sandwich out front. Just a couple things. I'm going to pass this around, or if you guys can, I want to do a drawing for a gold flashlight. I'm not talking into this. So if you want to participate, we really do consider ourselves the gold standard in home inspections. So anyway, a little bit about kind of what's new at Home Pro. We have really been focusing on the added services and just bringing more services to you guys. And so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of those, and something else that we've just added into each report. So as far as added services, we've been doing thermal imaging and that for quite some time, but we've now brought in sewer scoping. We've been asked by a lot of our agents in the Atlanta market for that. So we brought that in. We are now doing indoor air testing, and we have brought in the CL100s. So that's something that I know that I get asked about a lot. And so we just want to make it more of a one-stop shop for you guys, so you're not having to make multiple calls. You guys have a lot on your plate. And we're also going to be working on, I think shortly, getting wind mitigation. And I'm excited for that because it lowers your insurance. So, yes.
Can you touch on that a little bit more? Like
what does that mean? So what it is, now I just bought a new house, so I didn't know until I kind of went through it. So for example, when I had my house inspected, they look at the house and how it's constructed, and there are specific things that are done during the construction of the home that kind of puts you towards that wind mitigation. So for mine, it was a steel rod that's placed every so many feet from the foundation to the roof. So it just has that additional anchor. I think most new construction has that, but then if other, older homes have gone in and done some, some retrofitting and that kind of thing. So what that does is that certification, we would sign off on that when we saw that during the inspection, and then you turn that into your insurance company and you get a discount on your insurance. So it really can, save you some money. So that's something that we're going to be bringing. And then we also are bringing in commercial inspections. So we've had it available, but not really talked much about it. But in the next 6 months, we're going to be having a full team addressing that. We've been getting a lot of requests asking if we can please do commercial. So we're bringing that to everybody in about the next 6 months. And then the last thing that I was so excited when I saw this come up. So now with every inspection, you get the descriptions and the cost pricing parameters and that, but now on some of those things that are more of kind of a cosmetic item, we are putting in a link to a DIY video that Jeff has done. So the homeowner can know, you know what, let's not get all worried about it. It's something that you can do, or you can put it on a list. It doesn't have to be done before closing, but it's just a short video showing you how to take care of that and a little more information about it. So it's embedded in every inspection. So I think it's pretty cool.
Would that be small stuff like outlets are loose, or there's a missing stop plug?
That kind of an idea.
I'm curious, like the generalization of it.
Cosmetic is how it was kind of explained to me. And then it's just a link. If you go onto our Facebook page, there's going to be, and I can even send that to you guys, and you can put it out on your Facebook thing or in your internal, but we have a little thing on there that just shows you what that looks like inside the inspection report. But I thought, how cool, because so many times, again, it's such an emotional thing, little things, and clients get unhinged, and it really, let's talk about it, and our inspectors are there to talk about it, but that little link just to add another layer of just, don't stress out. So anyway, so we brought that into it. And always check up on we've started to introduce two, we're calling it Netflix for agents. So with our new website and with our Home Pro Academy, we haven't been as robust in doing our webinars. We've had, got breast cancer in our office right now that's being dealt with. So it's kind of slowed some of that down. So that's where that focus is. But we got some great on-demand 30-minute webinars that you guys can go into at midnight if you can't sleep. I guarantee you it'll put you right out when you're done. But we talk about things like mold and what that means in a report and how to talk about it to your client. We talk about some things. We have a couple different topics on new construction. I think there's one in there on pre-listing inspections and how important those are, because what those really do is allow you to price that home right rather than do it on comps. And then you are given all that negotiating power to the buyer. And then the buyer comes in with the inspection and their guns blazing, and then your seller's going to lose some money before you pick up that can of paint. I think it's the best money spent, but I know sometimes it's hard with the clients to, convince them of that. But a lot of, I just think, useful information that, that you guys don't have a chance to really talk about. And if you have topics that you would like to see in there, let me know, because we're always looking for things to add to it, content. So just some new stuff from us. We really appreciate the partnership with you guys. You guys have been great to us. And we did a great CE over in West Ashley last week. And I'm going to be out tomorrow for a sales meeting. We're going to try and do this on a quarterly basis for everybody. So again, thank you for coming and all of that. Any questions, anything you guys are seeing out there? Any comments, anything? Okay, we'll get after it, guys. Okay.
Thanks, Wendy.
We'll do that afterwards. We'll do the drawing afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the cards. Want to pass them around again? Make sure you got them all.
Okay, did everybody get their card in?
Awesome. Where we at? All right. See if I can figure this out. So I read a book recently called The Gap and the Gain. Has anybody ever read that book? Heard of it? The Gap and the Gain. And it was pretty cool. It was like, and we were talking about this with the leadership team. Every Friday morning at 8:15, we do, well, every day we have a huddle with the leadership team. And then at 8:15 on Fridays, we have a longer meeting, and every one of those starts with gratitude, just like we start a team meeting. And we kind of went back and we kind of slowed down and we started to talk about, like, why even do that? Why does it matter? And this book really opened my eyes to the whole concept of measuring ourselves to an ideal or measuring ourselves to where we came from. And most of the time, we're at the end of the year, right? We're in, I don't even know what month, October. We're in October. Holy smokums. And we look at it and we're like, great, I hit my goal. Or no, I'm behind on my goal. Or I didn't do X, Y, and Z. Or wow, look at what they did. I didn't do that. That's even worse. And it's this concept of measuring the gap. Successful people do this a lot, like everybody sitting in this room. We always are evaluating the gap, or we're evaluating the ideal that we had maybe at the beginning of the year. When in reality, what does that do? Like, if I didn't hit my goal, what's the mindset and what are the feelings that I'm usually going to have? I'm a failure. What else? That's great, Laura. What else? That's a pretty powerful one, right? Or frustration, or like negative self-talk, all these negative feelings. And negative feelings usually produce what outcome? More bad stuff. Whoa. Did it? That would have been bad, John. So, however, if we looked at it and we said, well, last year I sold 24 homes and my goal this year was 48. And I came a little shy and I sold 36. And I look at that and I'm like, man, I'm 12 shy. And then I stop myself. We can't really control our first thought, but we can definitely control our second and the words that come out of our mouth, right? Kind of like I just didn't curse. You see that? Yet, if I was to take a step back and I looked at it and I said, holy smokes, I just sold 12 more. I just helped 12 more people. Wow, look at, now I have systems, now I'm touching my database 36 plus times a year. And last year I didn't touch them but once, right? Or, wow, look at the efficiency that I have now in my post-close process, or wow, now I have a post-close process, or wow, look at all of the books that I read this year, right? And I start to look at that and the gains that I made, and I start to be thankful for that. What's the mindset that I go in there? A positive one, right? Wow, that was pretty good. And that mindset then helps us overcome the gap that we're going to maybe have the following year, right? And it sets us up for a completely different momentum than, man, look at where I am, I'm 12 behind, as compared to, wow, I sold 12 more this year. Imagine with now the new systems and all the new things that I put into my business, what I'm going to do next year. Does that make sense? So with that said, I think gratitude is a really important thing. And we're at October, whatever it is. We're starting to think about what our goals are for next year, right? And we're also evaluating all the amazing things that we did this year. So who wants to share kind of something they're grateful for, or fill somebody's bucket and tell them how grateful you are for them? Just give me two. Hey, how you doing? You got to talk in the Zoom world.
So I knew this was coming, and I've been thinking about what I wanted to say. We moved to Charleston in 2020, and I didn't actually join KW until last year, October. So it's my anniversary month with y'all. And the thing that I greatly missed was a sense of community. And it's been a really trying year, and I certainly did not hit my goals by a long shot. But there were a lot of personal health things and family things. And so many of you reached out to me personally, stopped by my office, gave me a phone call, gave me a text, sent me a note. And I have my community now. So while I may not be there yet, I will be there next year. And it's because all of you are here day in and day out. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, who wants to follow that one up? That's awesome. Anybody else? Yeah, right. That was a tough one to follow. Yeah, that's like three. Give me one more.
I'm grateful to everyone who donated.
Help bring a little hope down to Southwest Florida. So thank you.
We're grateful for you. Let's give a hand.
I want to echo what Laura just said. We are just so grateful for what you do, and just your actions speak so much louder than words. And thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just so proud to be in business with you, because no matter what's going on in your life, personally or professionally, you always drop and take care of whatever needs to be done. And it makes us all look good. And I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Anybody else? It's awesome. All right. That was cool. Let's move on. All right. Lauren, Susie, John, and Jackie, you guys mind coming up? Let's give them a hand. Pick your poison. Hey, how are you? All right, did you get the questions? Serious? No, because I'm. I'll get my book here. Yeah, I'm bringing. Sorry about that. Of course you are. You were at the Grove Park most of the time anyway.
Stay away.
All right, so we had the awesome opportunity, and we've heard Jan speak about this when Jan and I were at the Mega Agent Summit up in
Savannah.
Thank you, Savannah. I guess that would be down in. Yeah, and it was an awesome event, and I think Asheville was second to none. It was just as good, if not better. Some of the speakers are pretty unbelievable. They did an amazing economic update with Ruben from KWRI. They had some awesome speakers, but I figured we are going to do a panel with these amazing agents that were there and kind of get their ahas. So I'll start with, well, we could just run down the line. So what were a couple of your biggest ahas just generally from the event?
The wealth building.
You gotta hold this on.
Oh man, that was nice. I was really hoping to go away with that. Joe Williams is creating a wealth building class. I think that was the biggest takeaway I had. Dude, He's the co-creator of Keller Williams, which I've never heard him speak. I figured he was just some lucky guy that like got in business with Gary and made millions. It sounds like he's actually still actively doing investment purchases and doing things. So hearing from someone at that level, and if he's creating a 4 or 5 hour class, I think for all of us involved in real estate, this is our vehicle. We should capitalize on that vehicle. So I think that was my biggest aha that I got away from that thing, because I was at the Grove Park most of the time hanging out. So it was my anniversary weekend.
Awesome. How about you, Jackie? What were a couple of your biggest ahas?
So out of the gate, I think having Ruben discuss all the economic information was extremely helpful, because I feel like it's been information overload lately, just with people's predictions. Oh, are we going to get up to 10? Are we going to get up to 12%? How long is this going to last? Are we doomed? You know, whatever. It was really nice to have all that concise information in one place. You know, even just answering people's questions, how the Fed, you know, you have to unpack that for your clients a lot of the time. They're like, what is the Fed? Who is the Fed? And how does that impact me? So that was extremely helpful. Also, you know, and I think he had said, basically 2023 is going to be hard. Then 2024 is going to seem, I mean, it's not going to be 2020 again. However, we're going to get back to normal. When you think about it in a time frame like that, 12 months isn't that long of a time. And even by Q2, things should settle down. So it gave me hope there too, to see the finish line. And it was interesting because I have quite a few clients right now that are locked in at these low interest rates, you know, 2.5%, and they want to rent their homes out. When rental prices here are astronomical, right? But that's one of the indicators that they're looking at, and they're waiting for that to settle before inflation comes to target. And I never realized that. So that was really interesting. I got a lot. One of the things I was most excited about was the panel discussing being a working mom and work-life balance, because that's something that I've always struggled with. And, you know, hearing from people that are extremely successful and how they leverage, I think Alice Daly, she was phenomenal. I mean, and she hooks you in. I like bought that book 30 seconds after on Amazon. I was like, click, okay.
Magic Mom.
Exactly. Because that was it. She really pulls you in. And I think the biggest takeaway, if I have no other quote, is that a recession is a terrible thing to waste. And that's something that's going to keep me chugging along, and that I'm going to also share with my clients. So I've really enjoyed her and got a lot out of what she had to say, and even how she moderated the panel. The probing questions. I don't know. I got a ton out of that.
Yeah, I love it. And I'll give you a couple of the numbers that they talked about that Jackie's referring to. Last year in 2021, you probably want to write it down, is 6.1 million homes were sold. And they've been talking since pretty much middle of the year that the projection for 2022 would be about 5.1. However, they just revised that down even more to 4.8 million. So that's a sizable chunk of homes that are no longer going to be expected to sell this year. So 4.8 million is the projection by the end of the year. They also talked about over the last 2 weeks that mortgage applications dropped 30%, right? And how does that impact us? Well, those are future buyers, right? So that was another one. They also talked about inflation a lot, right? And what the Fed is targeting. The Fed is always targeting 2% inflation. So everything that they're doing with monetary policy by adjusting rates, and what does that do? That stops consumer spending or throttles consumer spending. They talked about right now, what did it come out on Thursday? I think it was 8.2, right? Yeah, 8.2% or something like that. And the month prior, the quarter prior was like 8.1%. So naturally, it's still trending up. How does that impact us? Well, that's buying power, that's affordability, right? The way that I think about what does 8% mean, anybody that spent $100 on goods last year, for the same goods, they spent $108 this year, right? So if you look at it from a household perspective, if I spend $100,000 to run my household this year for the exact same thing, nothing changes, I'm gonna spend $108,000, right? And then we look at wages. Wages haven't changed. A lot of people are on fixed incomes. So $8,000 additional to do exactly what I did the year prior is gonna have an impact, right? And then the last thing that Jackie referred to, they talked about job openings. And job openings are starting to trend down. One of the reasons that they've talked about this, like, they're starting to change the definition of a recession, right? Which bothers me. Like, but typically a recession is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. However, one of the things that they're looking at is, wait, we have some good, healthy numbers in unemployment. So is this actually a recession? Well, inflation is really high and all these other things, but if we could go argue it till we're blue in the face. Now we look at unemployment and we look at the job openings in unemployment. They're trending down, which is an indicator to high unemployment in the future. So a couple of these things, you can think about it good, bad, ugly, right, left, up, down. It doesn't really matter. It just is. How do we adjust, right, and not waste the recession? So, Susie, what were some of your odds?
Well, because when we were listening to all the economic information from Ruben, which was really fantastic to have him,
We'll get the slides
in.
and send them to everybody.
I was like, oh, this sounds really bad, man. But one of the things that we learned is there's $2 trillion of generational wealth that's coming down the pipeline. So there is money out there. So there's some hope there. I'm going to kind of switch it to, I guess really the mental stuff that I learned. First of all, the event was fantastic for a lot of reasons. One of them was there was a couple speakers that they had. There was a gal that I forget her name. She was a normal person, triathlete runner, like probably Ironman runner, obsessed with running and exercising and fitness. She got sick and lost 4 limbs, 4. And she stood up on that stage and was so incredibly positive. And her lessons that she was trying to teach through, obviously losing 4 limbs, amazing, was help. And she broke it down to H is for, hope, excuse me. She used the word hope, and she broke it down to H is for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And in our world, that would be leverage. Obstacles, they make you resilient. Get ready for the next one. P for hope, under hope, is perseverance. You should work months. This is an example, perseverance. She worked months. She lost both her hands. She had a baby. How old was the baby? Does anybody remember when baby when she was in the hospital? So she got home. It took her months to learn how to change the diaper with her as prosthetics. And as soon as she changed the first diaper, the little one said, potty train me. So she had to, persevere through that. Anyway, the woman was amazing. And then E for hope was end. Keep the end in mind and only expect excellence. So it's like just listening to someone like that, overcome obstacles, we all can do that. And one of the other things she said, 2 things. You can have a pity party, yet it needs a curfew. And really, here we are, we hear all this negative economic stuff that is our reality. And I thought that is so cool, because I know we are all, probably a lot of us in that room were having a pity party for a minute, but let's keep it to a curfew. I love that. And then what is in you is stronger than what is in front of you. So I just thought that was fantastic. And then another little quote that I learned is, if you're digging a hole, stop digging. If you're digging a hole, stop digging. So if there's something out there that you're spending money on that's not giving you return on investment, get rid of it. Stop digging the hole. I could go on. And then one other thing I'll just mention, because then I'm going to scoot out. I got to go. The main speaker at the event his name was Don Yeager, and I had the opportunity to have dinner with him. Amazing human being. But he's written several books, but one of the topics of his speech was 16 characteristics of greatness. And you could just go online and look them up. Don Yeager, Yaeger is his last name. Two things that he talked about. Well, he lists all these 16 things to greatness. And then he went and showed it to John Wooden. Does anybody know who John Wooden is?
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest basketball coaches that ever
Most
existed.
Most NCAA championships.
So he printed out 5,000 of these and couldn't wait to show John. I mean, this man is an extraordinary man. He wanted to talk to him about him. And John looked at it and he was like, oh, forget it. This isn't going to work. And he's like, what? I'm so excited. He goes, you need to put your number 15 to put either number 1 or 2. And the number 2, and this is what I'm taking out of this entire event, was rubbing elbows. They understand the value of association. And look at us here. We're in this panel. We're with Keller Williams. Associate yourself with other agents and learn from them and embrace one another. And that was number 2. And John Wooden said, this will never work if you make it number 15 on your list. So Don Yeager put it number 2. So the value of association. Woo, sorry, didn't mean to go on.
That one is really big. I think sometimes we downplay the infrastructure that we have. It's the largest real estate infrastructure in the world. And I'm looking out, I know a lot of the people in this room have traveled to different events and rubbed elbows with different agents that maybe are doing similar or more or doing what you intend to do the following year. Those conversations and those relationships, they're irreplaceable, right? And we always say we're the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most time around. And I love that quote, but I think we forget that sometimes the 5 people that we want to spend the most time around are running to 5 other people. So we have to run to keep up. And when we go to things like this, or when we have these types of conversations, it allows us to run faster, because it's a lot easier to learn like this than it is to go and screw something up that somebody else has already screwed up, right? Or how many times have you, I screw up things that people have taught me. I'm just saying. So, yeah, I know. Every day I feel.
I think he said something, I was like, you'll never eclipse your inner circle or something, like you'll never, I might have the correct verbiage, but basically, even when, you think you surround yourself with the right folks, you get to a point though where you might need a new, you just outgrow people, and you might need a new arena to play in.
Yeah, somebody said to me once, they said, sometimes the people that have gotten you to where you are aren't the people that are going to get you to where you're going. And that's okay. Does not mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that you're bad or good or better or worse. None of it. Just simply means that the relationships change. And they made a comment about, I think it was the Alice Daly lady. She said something like, she said your second life starts when you realize you only have one. And you're one relationship, one conversation, one no, one yes away from starting your second life. And the relationship piece just continues to come up every time. Lauren, what'd you get from? What were some
I
of
was
your
looking at
odds?
Alice Daly's questions.
unbelievable.
She has so many good ones. So I actually really love the kind of segue of the people we have relationships with. I went to Family Reunion earlier this year. That was the first event I had attended. And it was, for anyone that's attended Mega Camp Family Reunion, it's like really big. You're walking from one room to the next, and it's like, a lot of people you're meeting. And this one I thought was so great just because it was very, very different. It was just one room, like lots of people within the room. But of the people that I'd met at Family Reunion that were at this event, it was just so great to reconnect with those people. And I feel like I was able to have longer conversations. Like I was able to go a little deeper at this than I was at Family Reunion, where it was like, all right, I'm going to my next event. Like, great meeting you. Give me your card. Let's meet up. And like, I sent some cards to people that I'd met at Family Reunion. And I didn't really get to know them well. So, I followed up, sent each of the people I had a business card, sent them a personal note. And one guy came up to me and he said, I really loved your note. And, I just had a really great conversation with him. And, before I didn't know much about him, if I would trust him with my referrals he was in Rock Hill. But now if I have anyone that's wanting help in Rock Hill, like I know who he is and I know I would trust him. And yeah, it was really great. So overall, that was great. I had a referral partner that I've developed a relationship with from Columbia. So I spent a lot of time with her. It was great. But yeah, I guess just to add to some of the things that you guys have already talked about, the Alice Daly, I definitely recommend. I also purchased her book and I, can't wait to read it. But, just more of like, I feel like it didn't feel like this with many of the presentations there, but just in general, a lot of times there's like an information overload with like, just receiving so much, where she made me feel like, just kind of slow down, check in with yourself, ask yourself questions, make sure that you know that the direction you're going in is in the direction that you really want to be going in, and make sure you're not sleepwalking through life. She, had a lot of questions like that just to check in and make sure you're doing okay. And then the other thing I'll just add is in the, what we're experiencing as it's like a shift and things are changing. Just like how some of the behaviors that we've had to hone in on over the past few years, or maybe not necessarily what we're working on now, and just how that, conversation is more, or how the skills like the practicing scripts and, as much as, I don't really want to spend time on that. I just want to go ahead and call people, how important that is to think through that and how we're reaching out to people.
Yeah, it really came from the concept of we were in a speed-based market, right? Now we've moved to a skill-based market. So if you think about it, so there's a lot of sports on right now. Go Phillies. Spectacular. Philadelphia's flying right now.
Something wrong with the world.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. They don't practice what they do, say on Sunday, all week practicing, so that then the flow just happens on Sunday. What happened? Oh, thanks, dude. Thank you. I forgot about this thing. Yeah, I don't really want to. So it's about the week. Like, what are we doing at listing presentation? Don't practice in front of the listing, in front of the client. Practice prior. Right now, at the same time, the more you do that, the better you're going to get, right? Page 88 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. However, we want to practice in front of that before we get to the client. So I love that. Anything else? What was one thing that you're going to implement? Or one takeaway, or it could be mindset, it could be an actual skill piece. What's one thing you're going to implement moving forward?
I think, like you were saying, we're in the speed to lead, right? We were all tripping over business because it was nothing but business. It's dried up. So it's going back to the basics, right? Go back to 20 contacts a day, go back to, oversaturate your database with information. Everyone's in a world of uncertainty. Gary said for years, be the economist in your neighborhood. So be your economist for your database. Do these things because people are going to get information from all sorts of places. But if you're the one sounding reasonable voice in their ear around real estate, when they're hearing all the different things like interest rates are 10%, well, they're going to go to 4% by spring. Like, who knows what's going to happen? But if you can help ground the conversation and help point them in a direction, eventually they're going to come back and look at you when it does become a skill-based market. When we do have to go and compete against people, you're going to stand out against someone else. So just going back to basics and over communicating what's happening on almost a weekly basis to your database, because every day is a new screw up from somewhere in the government or the Fed or something's going on. So like, you just need to have that reasonable conversation with them and be grounding and be the source of information. That's what I implement. That's what I do. I'm just going to do it more now.
So another story that Alice told was when she was asked to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So someone called or texted her while she was sitting on the couch, and she did not go into how she got from the couch to the mountain, which I think is when I ordered the book, because I was like, yeah, how did we get here? But she was talking about, so they were going up for it was like the final summit, and she kept having to adjust her pack or something. So the the rest of the group kept going on. It was just herself and her guide. And she said she got to a point where for a while she could see everyone in front of her, their little like headlights. And then it got to a point where they were so far ahead, she couldn't see them, but she could not see back to camp. So she's describing this as like this darkness or this in between. And everyone can relate to that when you can't quite think back to where you were when you first started, even though you've made tons of strides, a ton of progress since, but you're not quite where you want to go. And I personally have felt like that for a little bit with business, just in this plateau, this kind of languishing. And then kind of tying that into now the end of the year business planning, I was ready to, and knowing what's on the horizon for next year economically, was ready to set more modest goals, things that are more achievable. And that kind of gave me hope to not do it, to not necessarily play it safe, and I immediately went back and readjusted my goals. And that, it's going to be a long play implementing it over the next 12 months. However, that's my biggest takeaway in all, because I know a lot of people have been feeling like that, even since COVID. It's this waiting game, I want to say, or people, you can't really wait for anything to change. That's what's great about this business, is it's a direct reflection of what you pour into it. And not a lot of jobs you can say that. So it just got me excited for going into 2023.
Well, yeah, when's the best time to plant a tree? 5 years ago or today? Right, and I love what you're saying, and think big, right? There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I really like what both of you guys said. And there was a panel Joseph moderated, and they just talked a lot about like the different metrics that they track, and just some of the things that they're doing at a high level. And Joseph like multiple times was like, what's the number one metric that you track? And it was number of conversations had every day. And that's something that like I track it, and then I don't, and then just depending on how busy I am, but I've started to do that more consistently, and like I've kept it where like I kind of go back and forth if I include texts or emails, but I'm now like just being really consistent in that, like I only count it if it's in person or on the phone, like some kind of conversation that's just me, what I count. But being consistent and tracking like when I'm talking about real estate with someone, and like how often I'm doing that. And then so besides those metrics, to kind of reflect back on what you were saying, John, the economist of choice, I thought it was interesting after what's his name, Rubin, after he finished, it was kind of a lot of information that wasn't necessarily sunny and happy. Yeah. So afterwards, someone asked him like, Rubin, should we be worried? Should we, like, how should we be feeling about all this information you just presented to us? And he basically said, if you're, in Keller Williams, you're actively becoming the economist of choice, you're, being that person. No, you should not be worried. You're going to be taking your unfair share and being that person that everyone's going to remember and want to go back to. The other agents that aren't doing that, yeah, they probably should be worried. So I just thought that, like, I felt that way the whole time, that I felt like energized and excited that, like, maybe a little bit more work, maybe to adjust your goals a little higher, maybe difficult, but definitely doable.
They say, what do they say? 83% of clients, or 87% of clients say they would use their real estate agent again. Yeah, it's a high number, but 13% do. So where do we immediately go? We're not touching base with them enough, right?
Mhm.
Is that true? Is it fully true?
Not always.
Not always. Actually, what's the average amount of time between a homeowner buying and selling real estate?
5 to 7
5 to 7 years. What's the average tenure of a real estate agent? 2 to 3. When you take out the outliers. So is it actually that we're not touching base with our databases, or is that one reason, or is the other reason they're no longer in the business? I think it could be the latter, right? And it's definitely both. And when you think about where we are from an economic standpoint, I don't know the page number and shift, but they talk about now is the survive time, and there's going to be, there's projections that 20%, 25% of the agent base moves out of the business and leaves the business, right? Attrition is a natural thing in real estate. 70% of real estate agents in Charleston sell less than 5 homes a year. Right? So when we look at that as top agents sit in this room, like Warren was saying, I look at it and said, wow, that's a lot of databases. That's a lot of opportunity and a lot of people to help. I just have to survive during this time, put the right systems in place, understand that pain is temporary. If you quit, however, it will last forever. And just go do it and have the conversation. So I love it. Let's give our panelists a hand. All right, what's next?
I don't know. Lists, your scoreboards.
The list, the scoreboards. I love scoreboards. Here's a scoreboard. Listings taken. So Dave Friedman leading the way, 11 listings taken. Does anybody know what the so year to date, what's the market up or down? So from a unit perspective, year over year, is the market up or down? Down. Do you know what percentage? Yeah, 15, I think, through August. At least that's what through what month are we in? October through September. I saw from Doug Holmes. He removed some stuff though, so it might be closer to 20. From an appreciation standpoint, do you know that number? Yeah, I think it's still around 10 to 15%, right? So volume is just about flat, but the units are down 15%. It's pretty dramatic, right? So demand is definitely slowing. And we just talked about 30% of mortgage or 30%. There's a 30% decrease in mortgage applications over the last 2 months or 2 weeks. I'm sorry. So that's a demand indicator as well. So it is so important that we, like John mentioned, or wherever he is, John mentioned going back to the basics. I'm a big believer in because I asked myself, what does really that mean? What's going back to the basics? Going back to the basics is sure appreciating that the amount contacts is really important. Warren mentioned it, right? Listings are really important. Page 102 of the MREA. All of those things are really important. Yet probably the most important thing to remember is that triangle on page 37 of the model. So the basics and then creativity. How can I take farming and add my own spin to it, right? How can I take door knocking and add my own spin to it, right? You've heard Gene Rivers talk about the hurricane preparedness kits and just going and partnering with the Red Cross and then handing out preparedness kits through your community. Hey, I hear there's a hurricane brewing. Here's a hurricane preparedness kit. If you need anything, let me know. KW Cares is here and they can probably help, right? Or here, I couldn't find leaf bags, because naturally I'm not prepared. Yeah, I was literally, it was bad. Actually, I was getting gas for the generator. Which then I couldn't get started. So great, right? So my wife loved that. So I didn't have leaf bags. I went to Lowe's after the hurricane. Guess what? No leaf bags. What if I had leaf bags already with my name and number printed on them and handed them out to my entire community? My leaves don't get picked up until Wednesday or something. And I don't have any time to rake the lawn during the week. I do it on the weekend. So for 4 days, my leaf bags are sitting on the curb. 2 weeks, right? Think about that. That's farm. All that was is farming. That was door knocking and farming, right? So back to the basics, but add some creativity. So and then you're going to see it drive in these numbers. So listings taken. Let's give a huge hand to all these individuals taking listings in September. We'll rip through these listings sold. Dave Friedman, Alan, I see you in here. Snook, Abrams, and Anton. Let's give them a hand. And closed units. That's awesome. 28 for the month of September. That's a good month. Let's give everybody on this list a huge hand as well. All right. Now, so month to date through September, Mairead leading the charge, 2.5 million. That's an awesome month. Let's give her a huge hand for an awesome month and the other 10. And Desiree leading the charge year to date. Way to go, 16.8 million. Virginia, I see you in here. Let's give all of these individuals a huge hand. Way to go. And teams, month to date on the left. So Dave leading the way, 10.7. And you saw the listings taken number, right? He led listings taken, which then means he led listings closed and closed units, right? What are we doing to leverage our listings into more buyers? We've always talked about in the past that, and the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book talks about it, right? That you can get one buyer for every listing. But in the past, were we able to actually market a listing? No, because it's sold like hotcakes. It was off the, I put it on there and it's gone, right? Now, are days on market longer? Does it allow us to truly run our seller system? Our seller system is first to get the home sold, right? And to create a great consumer experience, it's unmatched, and that creates more referrals. But then number two, it's to get more leads. Now we have a great opportunity because days on market is extending. Sure, the conversation on the front end is a little bit more difficult with a seller. Got it. And I get to market this listing longer and generate more leads and people to help. So there's a huge benefit in that too for us. So Dave, Charleston Connection, Alan, I see you here. Let's give all of these individuals the left a huge hand. And 92.4 million on the year. That's pretty awesome. So for the year through September, here's our top 10, and let's give them all a hand. Congratulations to all of you. Oh, and this is Greater Charleston. I love that we're doing this now. The I did, didn't I? I'm such a pain in the rear. So September, Mandy over in West Ashley had an amazing month, 3.5 million in September. Mairead right behind, Diana, Winnie, Bobby. Let's give all of these individuals a huge hand. That's through the entire, that's through all of KW Charleston. And on the right, Ingrid, new to the family a couple months ago, leading the charge, 21.4 million year to date. Desiree right behind, Mandy. Let's give everybody a hand. This is awesome, Virginia. And this is teams. Chucktown leading the way. Dave, Charleston Connection, a month to date, and also leading year to date. These are some pretty epic numbers. And I think that 174 doesn't include their expansion model.
No, just local.
Yeah, that's just, I think from an expansion standpoint, they're, yeah, so that's just their, that's not their expansion numbers. That's just awesome. Let's give all of these individuals, these teams. There's a great book called the, oh, I'll tell you in a second. What's that? What is this? Oh yeah, look at this. Alan, lead the charge in the entire region. Number 5, that's awesome. Mandy, Chucktown, let's give them a hand. This is epic. So there's a book called The Go-Giver. If you've never read it, you should read it. And it talks about how compensation is simply an exchange of value. It's representative of the value that you give to a population, to a community, to whatever, right? Your data set, your data bank, whatever you want to call it. And every time I look at these numbers and I look at where the numbers were in the past and where they are now, and I look at the amount of GCI or the amount of money that our agents are continuing to create and earn, my head goes just straight back to, wow, look at all the value that we're providing, right? We're going to probably sell like 2,800 some units or something crazy. That's pretty epic. And that's all of you. So it's a huge, huge accomplishment. So again, let's give everybody a hand. Go ahead.
When Alan saw the September numbers up on the board, he commented to me, that month, that's what I earned in the full year of 2008.
Yeah. Wow. No way.
And y'all were on vacation for most of this, right?
Back in
Oh,
08,
but yeah.
what we produced this month
Yeah,
was what
that's
I
awesome.
produced in the whole year.
That's incredible.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
No, what, I mean, it went bad.
Bad then. But epic this month. Yeah. That's pretty unbelievable. So let's keep moving. Profit share. Mike. What?
Hasn't updated for the month, just so you know.
Oh yeah, it's the 19th. So in a couple of days, we'll get the updated. So Mike leading the charge. This is awesome. 48% of the profits that are generated at the local level are shared back to agents that help generate that profit. It's not out of your pocket, it's out of the owner's pocket. So it's pretty cool. Take advantage of it. And we're crushing it there. So let's give those individuals a hand real quick. Cappers, we're going to run through these. Congratulations to all these individuals. They capped, earning 100% of their commission. That's epic. And who do we have? New people to the family, and welcome to the family. If you haven't seen them, or if you don't know them, anybody on this list is new here? Hey, how you doing? I'm Vince. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Reese? Everybody say hello to Reese. Hey, Reese. What's up, man? Well, welcome to the family. It's quite a group. And it is, you'll love it. So, and luxury agents. So we wanted to recognize some of our luxury agents, all of these individuals. If you have questions about luxury and about how you can leverage luxury and the division of luxury, talk to the amazing Laura Fox. Shoot her an email. Do you have any? Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please.
Since we last discussed our luxury group, Alan Donald has now qualified in.
Awesome.
Stephanie Clark, Mandy Danino,
Yep.
Cheryl Eisenberg, Maria Crowley, and Tony Jameson.
Awesome.
And our lovely management ownership wants to give you officially.
Oh, there we go. Let's give him a hand. That's great. I love that. That was spectacular. Good job, Laura. If you have any questions about the qualifiers or about the resources in luxury, maybe you don't necessarily qualify for luxury all the way through, but you have a luxury listing. You can take advantage of that segment and that division for your luxury listings. So, and your luxury buyers. So reach out to Laura. It's an awesome value. So happy birthday to all these individuals. This is epic. Let's give them a hand. And what's coming up? You tell me.
Yep. So CES calendar is on our training calendar, just so y'all know, every month. I always say it, but just to highlight a few, they're doing Tech Tuesdays, the 1st and the 15th, and then Internet Lead Generation. Oh yes. And 6 scripts that changed my career with Chris Hurley. So that's what we have in CES. Wealth building. Do you want to talk on this one? The investing for financial success, and it's how to invest large chunks in the short term. Do you know exactly on this one? It is here in this office. Yes.
So this is Wealth Building Wednesday?
Yes.
So I don't know this guy, but I bet he's great. So Winnie's done an amazing job at bringing in, like we had the CPA last month. She's done an amazing job at bringing in some really awesome speakers and some really awesome resources in the wealth building space. And in 3 minutes, we're going to talk about it real quick, but definitely go out to this. I've heard good things about Josh. And leverage that resource.
Okay.
Good job.
Awesome. If you haven't heard so far, Business Planning Clinic is October 27th. We have a QR code up here and one outside by the food too. So if you don't get it and you haven't signed up, please do so because it's going to be awesome. Customer experience is going to be here in Charleston on the 10th of November. So please sign up for that. I cannot remember who exactly is teaching that, but I'll get that to y'all. Yeah, they're going to do a great job, right? And then we also have the holiday party December 1st. Please, please, please sign up for this. This is going to be at the Porter Room at Holy City Brewing. We're excited about it. It's going to be all of Charleston. It's a cool space. So we're excited to have a holiday party and celebrate everyone. Oh, yes, here we go. Bold is going to be back in Charleston, April 2023. So get that on your radar. We haven't had this since like 2019 with COVID and everything. So we've had a lot of people requesting having Bold come back. So we have that on the radar. And Tiffany is going to speak a little bit on that.
I'm going to speak a little bit and then we'll go to you. We know Bold is expensive. And so to mitigate that being a stumbling block from you signing up for Bold in 6 months from now, since we're talking about it 6 months early, we're not going to talk about the cost. If you would like to start using your commissions now and want us as a market center to hold on to that funds through your closings, please let us know. We want to be able to, if you want to take $200 out for your closings from now until April so that that's paid for by the time April rolls around, we definitely can make that happen for you. So just let us know. We will also be implementing a reimbursement policy as we had in the past so that your transactions afterwards will qualify you to get that money back. So you can actually take Bold for free, pending the business that you gained from that awesome experience. So the cost is going to be $799. It has not gone up. And I got that confirmed from a lot of different sources. So that's going to be the price coming April. And we're excited to have it coming back into town because a lot of people have been asking for it. So, and I've heard it's incredible. My mom just took it in New Hampshire and she was like, she's never been a Bold fan. Let's be real. And she's like, I will take this every year now. So.
And they revamped it.
Yeah.
Right. It's no longer, thanks to, they revamped it. It's no longer like one of the challenges or some of the feedback about Bold was that it's all about cold calling, right? They, right before COVID and then during COVID and now with this new version, they changed it to, there's still calling is a part of it, not cold calling, but I don't know anybody that has sold a house without talking to the client, right? Whether it's face-to-face or calling them up. And they're really focusing on database management, Sphere, different systems that you can implement, the whole 9 yards. It's changed the metrics in this new Bold to the average agent in the last launch put under contract 12 contracts, which was fascinating to me. They used to talk about 7, right? And even if 50% of those didn't close, that's still going to make a pretty good ROI on your $799. Not to mention it's going to be free because you're going to get reimbursed on those closings. So definitely jump in the Bold. So with that said, Ben, you want to help me? We're going to go 3 minutes over, and I hate going over, but I apologize, but you're going to want to hear this. Do I have your permission? Nice. Yeah, if not, I'm going to do it anyway. So,
Gonna move this more. Are you good?
yeah, can we move it a little bit?
Yeah.
So who's ever heard of Gene Rivers? Gene Rivers. So Gene Rivers talks about the lid exercise and like jump in whenever you want. Everybody knows Ben, right? Ben's our assistant team leader. He's an absolute rock star. And if you don't know him, grab him after this and introduce yourself. But so we were talking about this earlier. I was setting a plan with somebody. And Gene Rivers always walks through the lid exercise. And with business planning right around the corner on the 27th, we figured we'd run through this exercise to start getting your mind going in that direction. So lid, what does L stand for? You remember?
Lifestyle.
So this is your lifestyle. What was I?
Investments.
And yeah, this is 100% a test. Good job. This is amazing. He's smart. So lifestyle, investment, and debt. How would you describe lifestyle? Like, what's the lifestyle number?
Yeah, lifestyle is just your daily expenses, but then your vacation. You're gonna take your kids on vacation to Disney World. That's not your lifestyle. You're gonna go on vacation by yourself. The cars you want to drive, the beach house that you want. Your parents may be running out of money. The stat of the highest percentage of people filing for bankruptcy are 62 plus.
Because of health bills.
Because of health bills.
It's unbelievable.
What are we looking at? Lifestyle includes not only just your car, your vacations, your kids' vacations. You got a kid going off to college. How many kids do you have going off to college? Are they going to PhD school? What does that look like? That number should be large. It's not just your monthly bills. And it's not just one vacation a year. It's the life by design.
100%. I love that. So let's say I want my lifestyle to be, and I wouldn't, what's one of the concepts in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, big goals, big models, right? So let's say I want my lifestyle to be 500 grand. Is that cool?
Per year?
Yeah. I like that number. Do you want a smaller number? Bigger number? Let's do 500 because I remember the math. So, and we're going to talk about this, but I'm going to say it's 500K.
Is that net, gross?
That's gross. Good question. And we're, what?
That's your spendable money.
It's your spendable money. It's net.
Before
I
tax?
forgot about that. Yes, we're going to get to that, but great questions. And we're going to include taxes into this number so that you have that in your pocket. Don't you worry. You're not going to beat me with this. I love this. So 500K. the point of investments is to create passive income to pay our active or our lifestyle number, right? And that can be over a period of 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is. One of the definitions that they gave for investments, he said this the other day, he said, that pays for your lifestyle is you must have a plan around just one number. So an easy number to pick is that 500K. He also said, an investment is periodic investment of time and money over time that bell curves up to develop more time and money, right? Over time, bell curves up. So if I know that I want my investment income to make 500K, how much, if I was to do this in real estate, we're all in real estate, right? And it's an easy way to do it. If I was to do this in real estate, do you remember how much real estate I would have to have from a value standpoint in order to generate at a 10% ROI enough money to cover this number?
5 million in real estate.
Cool. So with $5 million in real estate, okay, I'm going to generate at a 10% return, 10% ROI, 500,000. Does that make sense? So this 500,000 can get acquired through how much? If I put 20% down, that can get acquired by how much money?
1 million.
1 million. So if I know that I have to create $1 million over time to create a cash flow of $500,000, now I know, say I want to do it over a 10-year period. That means I have to create how much money? 100 grand a year. So if I take this 100K a year and I add it to this number, how much is that? 600,000. Look at how I'm writing. There she is. It's pretty cool. I don't want to, honestly, I don't feel like walking. Getting tired. So 600K. Now, what he says, what Gene Rivers says, is he says this debt number, it includes your taxes, right? That is one debt that we all have. They will come and knock in the debt tax and then mortgage. And he ran the number at 50%. He said, so 50% of these two numbers should get added. So 50% of 600 is what? So if I add 300,000, what's that equal? 900K. So over a 10-year period, if I generate 900K a year, that allows me to run the lifestyle that I want and invest $100,000 a year into two $500,000 or one $500,000 property, two $250,000 properties to acquire over 10 years, $5 million worth of real estate. What I loved about this exercise, not only does it take into consideration our tax, right, and the money that we have after, it also allows us to focus on just one number, right? Now, it doesn't have to be this big, well, I'm going to invest the extra money, right, that I create, or I am going to accrue real estate over the next 20 years, but I don't really know how or how much. This gives us a perfect number to create a plan around. So if I know that I want to create $100,000 extra on my real estate business, and I have to, and my GCI has to be 900K, then I can just work to put that money in a separate account and acquire that much real estate each year based on the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, or investor book, or whatever plan that you want to, whatever strategy. Because now I'm going to create a GPS, a 135, and a plan around this number and how I'm going to invest. And I'm going to create a plan around how I'm going to create 900K for my real estate business. Does that make sense? And as we're going into our business planning clinic on the 27th, then now you can start to think about these two numbers. Start to think about, what do I want my investment income to be? What do I want my lifestyle number to be? If I want it to be $100,000, how much real estate do I need? $1 million, right? I need $1 million of revenue to make 100,000. And I can cover that if I want it to be $1 million, then I need $10 million worth of real estate.
You're assuming a return of 10%.
Yes. Assuming a return of 10%. So is it out there? Sure. Is it going to get tighter? Maybe. Is it going to grow? We're also not taking into consideration the appreciation that can happen in this number here. There are some assumptions being made because it's a 10-year plan. If I wanted to cut this in half, I have to go and I have to accrue $200,000 of real estate every year to make this a 5-year goal. So this is simply a cash flow plan. This has nothing to do with the appreciation and net worth creation plan that that's benefiting from the fact that we're just focusing on cash flow. Does that make sense? Now, last point, this 900K, we have business expenses, correct? So we're going to have to gross this number up based on what that percentage is. Typically, you see somebody that's doing this much money, you're probably going to have to gross this up by 30%, right? Or maybe even a little bit more.
Condensed across all of it though. So 30%, when you gross up that 900, that's condensing all these numbers together. versus
Exactly.
Just grossing that 30% on that 500.
Yeah, it's taking into consideration your tax income, your mortgage, all that good stuff, because we're using a tax number at 50% as a buffer. So if I was to gross this, now it's like 1.2 million at 30%. So we can just play the math problem to create a plan. And then you go back to your GPS and you say, all right, what's the first thing I have to focus on? That's going to be leads. What are my lead pillars? And what are the 5 strategies that I'm going to execute every day, every week, every month? What do I have to build there to create enough leads to generate 900K or whatever the number is? Then how am I going to follow up with those leads? Right? What are the systems that I need in my business to follow up with frequency and intensity over time? And then lastly, I would focus on consumer experience. That can be your third priority. Right? What does the consumer experience have to look like so that they say, I am the best real estate agent they've ever worked with? He helps me way more, or she helps me way more than just a real estate agent. They got the best lawn guy. They've got the best window washer. They got the best whatever, right? You need a contractor, you should call Laura, right? What does that consumer experience look like? If I focus on those 3 priorities, because that's really what real estate is, lead gen, follow-up, and transaction management, now I can start to put strategies together to focus that hits this particular goal. If I took 900,000 divided it by 10,000, which is just about the average GCI, what's that equal? 90 units. So this individual has to figure out a way to sell at least 90 units, right? And that would be the 4th level team, by the way. Because I've seen people sell 90 units as a rainmaker and 2 admin and a buyer's agent, maybe with a showing assistant. I've seen it. It's amazing. It's the most profitable business you can run. It's probably going to run at like a 60% margin, sometimes higher. So it's just about, this is the whole point of this exercise, is simply to put this out there, start to get your wheels spinning, thinking about not just lifestyle, but thinking about how do I make that lifestyle number get paid for by my investments? Are any of your clients smarter than you about real estate? The answer should be no. You're the local expert. And they're investing in real estate. You have literally the first piece of you have the most knowledge about what to invest in. We should take advantage of it for ourselves as well, to create a passive income stream that pays this lifestyle. Think about the gain there. Any questions? Does it make sense? Awesome. Well, we're over. And if you need anything, as always, give me a call, shoot me a text. We are humbled to be in business with you guys. To the top we grow. You guys are awesome. Thank you.